Do you grow super hot peppers? Or if you're like me, maybe you have some friends that give you the super hot peppers they grow because they're so hot, they grow them and they don't know what to do with them. And maybe you don't want to make hot sauce. I love hot sauce, but I got to tell you, hot chili salt is like the easiest recipe for working with insanely hot peppers. One of my friends gave me a bunch this year, and this is what I made, and it is so good. The big thing to keep in mind here is super hot peppers aren't really developed for flavor. So ghost peppers here, these are super hot. They have some good flavor. They don't have as much aroma as like a habanero. Then you have like these lethal peppers. These are Carolina Reapers. They're insanely hot. They have like a 2 million Scoville rating, like 1.5 to 2 million. So the goal here, what I like to do, you want to balance heat, aroma, and flavor. So there's a couple peppers. I'm using fatalii peppers here. These are like a habanero. I think they have a better aroma than a habanero, and they have just this concentrated fruity aroma. So I'm using a blend of those and Carolina Reapers. And I'm using them in about equal proportions here. So you can see I'm cutting the stems off with the scissors. You want to wear gloves here. The fresh peppers, if you get it on your fingers and you get it in your eye, I mean, we've all done it. Touch a sensitive part of your body. It's just a great time. No, it's not. Take your salt. The salt is also important here. Morton kosher and coarse kosher salts have been my favorite. And we really want to puree this in the food processor until it is just as fine as you can absolutely get it. Because with some of these super hot peppers, especially like the Reapers and ghost peppers, if someone gets like a physical piece of the chili, they just seem to have a tendency to stick in people's throats at, less than opportune times, like when you're at the dinner table, and then someone is sitting there coughing for like 10 minutes and things get awkward. This actually just happened to me, not from my chili salt, at a different dinner at a restaurant I was at just this last week, and it stopped the whole meal. So make sure it's finely ground. The seeds, for whatever reason, don't seem to get stuck in people's throats as much as small pieces of dehydrated skin. Okay, so this is a variation. You can also use fermented peppers. And I thought this version was great too. I have made like 6 or 7 different batches of this now in the past few months. And this was just a blend of different fermented peppers. Some of the Reapers, fataliis. I think that's a Jimmy Nardello. There's a whole bunch of them. So you can just follow the same recipe that's on my site. The only difference here is there's, a tiny bit of extra salt with fermented peppers. I'm just seasoning them with salt, 1 to 2% of their weight, and vacuum sealing them. And you're going to have a little bit of stinky, sour pepper juice that's very hot with that. And this one I used Diamond Kosher. Diamond Kosher is not my favorite because it is going to basically dry into a brick that needs to be kind of ground up. And that's fine. It's easier to portion that in really, really small pinches, but you're going to have to break it up. Morton Kosher kind of does the same thing, but it's not quite as fine as Diamond Kosher. So that's kind of my first choices. Morton Kosher or coarse kosher salt, or a nice coarse sea salt like Selgri. So after it's dehydrated, or you can just leave it out at room temperature. You can see this is, again, the Diamond Kosher, which really, kind of dries into a brick, which is not bad at all. You can just pulverize it. You can put it back in the food processor and just grind it up, or you can just do it by hand and put the chunks in a little jar. There is coarse kosher salt. You can see this stays really nice and coarse. It's also a little more salty because the chunks of salt are larger. So a little bit of personal preference there. Anyway, find a fitting jar. I found this perfect skull jar at Marshall's. I was like, oh my God, this is made for my chili salt. It'll keep for a very long time in the fridge. Fantastic way to use those super, super inedibly hot peppers if you find yourself having some. The full recipe is on my website. There's a link at the top of the video description for that. Thanks for watching.